Well, I survived 15 hours of driving this weekend. I was a little off to start because if you remember correctly on Friday, I called Jack Curtis Jack Carter, I think twice in the show as I was listening
Yes,
back.
you did. At least once.
Yes, I did. Sorry, Jack. That's just called being exhausted right now. We're only in week 4, literally in week 4 into week 5. But I apologize. But, what really energizes you, though, is getting to Baldwin Wallace. Great crowd, hot weather. It was scorching on that field by the end of that game. And John Snell, who is the committee chair, comes up to me. He's like, "Frank, how are you?" Because he's the Baldwin Wallace guy. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, John." We were talking about NPI a little bit. And, he's in his last year, and he's going to make his recommendations for next year for what to do with it. He's been playing around the numbers. I said, "I'd love to talk with you a little bit." We'll see if we can get that to happen. But, great guy. You remember him from the sidelines of the Stag Bowl last year. And, hey, it was an exciting game for a little while there, and Mount did what Mount does. We'll talk about that in Crunchtime coming up. But then getting to Grove City and, the coaches on the Grove City side giving you hugs saying, "Hey, thanks for coming back." And then, after 34-0 turns, eventually to 34-14. Mike Sirianni accuses me of being a Giants fan, obviously, because his brother is the Eagles head coach. And I told him, no, I'm more of a Bills guy these days, and I just root for whoever's, a New York team. But he was busting my chops. But really good getting to talk with him. We don't get an opportunity often to, JB. And as I said in the interviews that you may have seen on Monday, the guy just wins. And the heck with the respect or disrespect level, he just wins. And he said it himself. He doesn't really care what people think out there. And you can't.
You know what he does care about, though, Frank? And you could see it with the look of sincerity that he gave you at the end of the interview, how much he appreciates the coverage of his team, of D3 football. And it's a nice reminder because we've been dinged. Some of it's our own fault sometimes. We like to set fires, I guess, and other times we stand up to fight the good fight and people don't want to hear it. But to hear feedback from guys like Coach Mike is really why we keep doing this. And the players, obviously, I think that's what it all comes down to, telling their stories. And I think the interviews you did with both the Mount Union guys as well as the W&J guys on Saturday night were great, as always. And I think that's what keeps us in people's good graces, Frank, your willingness to get on the road and cover these games and be there in person, which not a lot of people do.
I do want to share one of my favorite things from the night, which was Sirianni talking with Ryan Briggs, the SID, Professor Briggs up there. And he said to me as I was exiting, I said goodnight to both of them as I went to go get some Primanti Brothers food and watch the end of the Penn State-Oregon game, which apparently I was in the wrong state for that one. But he was talking with Briggs and said, "This is one of the best SIDs in the game." And I said, yeah, he's one of the best promoters for even the conference. And Joe Anderico was there, the commissioner for the PAC. And Ryan Briggs is just awesome. Gave me front row center parking again so that I could get there and be rushing around the way we usually do when we have to do a 2 for around a day. And thanks to them for that. And great experience as always. So thank you to everybody at both Baldwin Wallace and at Grove City, but in addition, obviously Washington, Jefferson, and Mount Union for assisting. We got some highlights of those games and many, many more coming up here, JB, so let's get to it. This is Crunch Time for Week 4 of the 2025 season. This is Season 18 of In the Huddle. JB, not too many games, obviously. We were talking 87 or 88, depending on how you count one of the Westgate Christian games there that was played. Yeah, so we'll call it 87 the way we do it here. But there was some excitement. There was some controversy, obviously. We're going to get to that as well and look at some conference races after crunch time. But first, your 30,000-foot view without bringing up the words incomplete pass more than once. Go for it.
Yeah, well, I think when week 4 we just saw what is the fun part of the regular season, right? The predictable unpredictability. You can see it in my picks record this week as my average continues to dive down. There were teams that got their first wins ever over teams that have beaten them for years. You saw some conference games where teams won over their conference rivals for the first time in over a decade. You saw some crazy plays like the end of the McMurray game, like the end of the Trine Albion game. You saw some crazy plays in the UNE Western New England game. I mean, there were certain finishes that like flipped our score predictions from a win to a loss and a loss to a win. It just happened. We had OT with Benedictine and Concordia, Wisconsin. We saw, the Williams Trinity thing. I mean, that game could have gone either way. So there was lots of great action. Not a single undefeated team in the NESCAC anymore. The number of undefeated teams keeps dwindling. We used to do a tracker for that. I imagine our new fancy system could probably easily calculate who's left on the list. But still, great action. Maybe not the best officiating weekend, Mr. Ref Rossi. So we'll get into that a little more. There was more than just the Alma Hope game that had some pretty bad, egregious calls. I am a little biased with one of the results of this weekend because of a bad call. We'll get into that a little later.
You can take us through that one specifically when we get to it. But first, let's get to this recap at this point, JB. I'm glad you could see the final play of the McMurray game because I couldn't see half of it because the camera never panned.
Well, I was listening and I was imagining it in my mind as I saw this really, I just had
AI probably could do it. AI probably could take us the rest of the way.
Well, to be fair,
in this day and age.
To be fair, that wasn't like a Flow Sports issue. I know everyone likes to jump on them and say, and to be fair, there have been some games where the technical difficulties are at this point are pretty inexcusable. But in this case, this was really more on McMurray for the camera angle, which was like from 30 miles away. You can even barely see the field. So at least the play-by-play guy was good. You knew what was going on in the game, even though you're kind of like, the players were maybe that big.
Well, on top of that, the first half had no video at all, but you did have the scoreboard. So that tells you that that's not Flow. That's actually McMurray's end getting their camera in order correctly. So there's things you can tell there, but all that money that they just spent on that new field, they should have put $1,000 into a streaming system
Seriously,
or something,
man.
and that would have probably helped matters. But hey, I will tell you about the game in a second. This is Crunch Time for week number 4 of the 2025 Division III college football season. We'll start in the MAC with Leadville at Del Val. 1:18 left in the first half. It's Deion Bryant from Leadville getting a 5-yard touchdown run for a 7-3 lead. Then, second half, 13:21 left, third quarter. Alex Roof with the 61-yard scamper downfield to the house to give Del Val the 10-7 lead. Third quarter, 9:01 left. Leadville's Deion Bryant again, a 7-yard touchdown run. They had the lead back 14-10, and they would add to it here. First play of the fourth quarter was Avery Grimm, a 1-yard touchdown run, 21-10, Leadville leading. Del Val would try to come back. 8:46 left fourth quarter. Gavin Migliori, a 28-yard touchdown pass from Mike Galasso, 21-18. Del Val trying here, and you'll see Lebanon Valley basically with a 4th and 1 on their own side of the field, gets 4 yards for the first down. Heck of a risk there. Then on 3rd and 4 with 2:32 left, Logan Klitsch Gets a 6-yard gain, another first down, still not over, but after the 2-minute timeout, 2nd and 7. Klitsch again, a 7-yard gain. They needed 7. He got 7 first down, and that would do it. Lev Val wins the game 21-18 over Del Val. Mike Galasso, 15 for 30, 166 yards, 1 passing touchdown, but 3 interceptions. Deion Bryant, 18 rushes, 87 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. We'll move to the NUMAC as USMMA at Norwich occurred. 10 minutes into the game, it's Danny Fierce, a 1-yard touchdown run, gives Merchant Marine a 7-0 lead. Then the next play from scrimmage, you'll see here that Landon Beecher is intercepted by Aiden Graham, returned 21 yards to the Norwich 9. Eventually, it is Merchant Marine getting a Bubba Mustaine 1-yard touchdown run, 14-0, Merchant Marine leads. We'll go to the third quarter, 13-16 left. And Dane Grunder, a 35-yard touchdown pass from Bubba Mustaine. I love the name, I gotta be honest with you. 28-0 is the score at that point. Final score, 49-0, Merchant Marine. Merchant Marine offense outgained Norwich 441-74 in total yards. Bubba Mustaine, 234 total yards, 1 passing, 2 rushing touchdowns. Go ahead, JB. Tell me about Bubba Mustaine.
Well, I mean, this might be the greatest name in Mariners history. I mean, Bubba Mustaine. I mean, I'm guessing I have to look up his bio, but he's probably from like Texas or somewhere in the southeast with that kind of nickname. That's a great one. And the fact that he can throw the ball, hey, look out for the Mariners. Bubba's coming.
You like it? You like it better than Gervie Alota? Come on, there we go. Yeah, we're going to move on here back over to the MASCAC now. It's Bridgewater State took on Framingham State. 21-14, Bridgewater State at halftime. Third quarter, 2.5 minutes into it, it's Jaheim Daniels, a 71-yard touchdown run for Framingham State. We'll give him a little time to get to the end zone. As I tell you, it was a 21-20 Framingham State deficit at that point. They're still trailing by 1. Bridgewater would get a field goal in response, 40 yards. So 6:16 left third quarter. Matthias Fowler, a 20-yard touchdown pass from Michael Ricucci. It's now 27-24, Framingham State with the lead. Another Bridgewater State field goal would tie it, though. So fourth quarter, 10:46 left. Framingham State's Aiden Ramirez gets a 15-yard touchdown pass from Trayvon Fields. 33-27, Framingham State with the lead, and they would extend it with 2:52 left. It's again Aiden Ramirez, this time from 8 yards out from Trayvon Fields. 40-27, Framingham State, the Rams lead. 2:34 left, though, and here you got Joseph Fallon getting a 71-yard touchdown pass from Joseph Doobie Garrett. It is a 40-34 game at that point, and then 1 minute later, 1:32 left, it's Mike Wynn, a 17-yard touchdown pass from Doobie Garrett. 40 apiece. We would go to overtime as the extra point was no good. So here we go in OT. Bridgewater State's Joseph Doobie Garrett is intercepted by Amari Williams to start the overtime frame on 4th and 22, so they needed some yards here, obviously. Framingham State's end of overtime on 3rd and 3 from the 18. It's Trayvon Fields complete to Alex Maya, and that would do it for the touchdown. Framingham State wins another barn burner in overtime, 46-40. Doobie Garrett, 13 for 34, 219 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Bridgewater State's defense had 3 sacks and 9 tackles for loss, 2 fumble recoveries on top of it, 1 for a touchdown and an interception. But look, Michael Marcusella and Trayvon Fields for Framingham State combined for 25 for 30, 275 yards, 6 passing touchdowns, and an interception. 6 passing touchdowns, my goodness. Let's go to the next CAC as Trinity took on Williams. We'll go second quarter, 13:44 left. Nolan O'Brien for Trinity gets a 1-yard touchdown run to make it 14-0 Bantams. 3 minutes later, Jimmy Montesano gets a 2-yard touchdown pass from Owen Johansson to make it a 14-7 game, Williams still trailing. But in the next quarter, Williams again sees Jimmy Montesano get a 12-yard touchdown pass, this time from Johansson, to tie the game at 14 apiece. We would go to the fourth quarter and look at this fake field goal leading to a DPI call. So Williams rolling the dice, and they get it 1st and goal to 2, and 1 play later, touchdown Williams. 21-14 on John Orris's 2-yard touchdown run. 3 minutes later, it's Trinity's Nolan O'Brien getting a 4-yard touchdown run to equalize the game 21 apiece. But again, this game back and forth, Williams 1 minute later has Zach Falls get a 73-yard touchdown pass from Owen Johansson. 28-21, Williams takes the lead back, but the Bantams answer. 7:58 left in the fourth quarter. A 1-yard touchdown run from Tyler DiNapoli makes it 28 apiece at that point, and we would go to overtime. On Williams' side of overtime, the first play is unfortunately a fumble by Owen Johansson and recovered by Ethan Krause of Trinity, and that would do it for that side of overtime. And then again, one play later, it is Jackson Carroll, pass complete deep left to Darrison Hooper, and that would do it. Touchdown, Trinity, and the win in overtime, 34-28. Owen Johansson, it sucks for him to have that ending because he had 386 total yards, 3 passing touchdowns on the day. But Tyler DiNapoli for Trinity, 138 total yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Darrison Hooper, 2 catches, 84 yards, including the game-winning touchdown in overtime. We continue in Region 1 with a CNE clash, Western New England at University of New England. We go 8:03 in the first quarter, and you'll see here the rugby-style punt is blocked, and it's Tegan Jeremy getting the 33-yard quote-unquote punt return, scoop and score, whatever you want to call it. It's good for a 13-0 lead in favor of UNE. First play of the second quarter, though, Western New England's heard from. It's Kellen Cornell gets a 1-yard touchdown run to make it 13-7, still trailing. Halftime score actually was 13-10, UNE leading. 2.5 minutes into the second half, DeAndre Harris for Western New England gets a 27-yard touchdown pass from Kellen Cornell to make it a 17-13 Western New England lead, but UNE would respond. 10:46 left in the third quarter. John Germano, a 29-yard touchdown pass from Chris Lang makes it 20-17, UNE leading. They'd extend the lead with 7:28 left third quarter. Alex Yeaton, a 23-yard touchdown pass from Lang, made it 27-17. WNE responds. 3 minutes left third quarter. Matt Lamontagne gets a 2-yard touchdown run on a 10-play drive to make it a 27-24 UNE lead, but UNE again bounces back with this 95-yard Damian Jones kickoff return for a touchdown. A huge play in that situation. It would make the game a 34-24 lead for UNE. The lead would expand to 13 on another UNE field goal. We'll go to the fourth quarter, 1:37 left. Kevin Acosta, a 14-yard touchdown pass from Drew Coyette, and that would make it a much closer game at 37-31. WNE, the Golden Bears got the ball back with 27 seconds, and unfortunately here for them, they just couldn't do anything with it on the 4th and 5 play to end the game, and that would do it as UNE beats WNE 37-31. DeAndre Harris from Western New England, 6 catches, 113 yards, 1 receiving touchdown, but Tegan Jeremy, that punt block, return for TD, and Damian Jones for UNE, 95-yard kickoff return for touchdown. Special teams have helped make them 4-0 this season. Don't lose sight of that, folks. Finally, we'll end in the MASCAC with UMass Dartmouth at Anna Maria. Second quarter, 1:04 left. Trayshawn Blair gets a 1-yard touchdown run for Anna Maria to make it a 27-14 lead. And then just before halftime, with 4 seconds left, Mekhi Wilson gets a 2-yard touchdown run to make it 27-21. Still Anna Maria's lead, but closer at halftime. 4:11 left, third quarter. Camarion Thomas gets a 15-yard touchdown pass from Nikolai Boyce, It's 33-21 at that point, Anna Maria. That's Dartmouth, though. 11 seconds left, third quarter. It's Mekhi Wilson yet again. That's his 3rd touchdown of the game, the 25-yard touchdown run to make it 33-28. UMass Dartmouth down by 5. They would take the lead, though, with 8:58 left, fourth quarter. A 4th touchdown for Mekhi Wilson. 3 yards out, makes it 36-33 as the 2-point conversion was good. Then the first play after the 2-minute timeout is Camarion Thomas getting a 29-yard touchdown pass from Nikolai Boyce to make it a 40-36 Anna Maria lead. 1 minute later, UMass Dartmouth's Mekhi Wilson gets his 5th touchdown of the game, the 1-yard touchdown run, 43-40 at that point. UMass Dartmouth thinks they've won this game, but no! 8 seconds left, Camarion Thomas, a 14-yard touchdown pass from Nikolai Boyce. It's 47-43. They had 2 opportunities at a Hail Mary because of a penalty in the first try. J.C. Petrangolo is incomplete, and that would do it. Anna Maria holds on to win 47-43. 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter. You saw him here first. Mekhi Wilson with those 25 carries, 161 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. Nikolai Boyce from Anna Maria, 28 for 47, 421 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, including the game winner with 8 seconds left. Did have 2 interceptions, but I don't think he really cares right now about those. JB, take us through the rest of Region 1.
Yeah, Region 1 was super busy. I mean, more than a quarter of the games last Saturday happened here in Region 1, and there were some really great, exciting ones like the highlights you just read through, Frank. But elsewhere in Region 1, Springfield, pretty dominant win over MIT, 31-7. You saw Curry, Misericordia win pretty easily, I guess you could say. Plymouth State struggling with Mass Maritime was a little interesting, especially with some of the points the Panthers have put up this year. But they're 3-0 in the MASCAC, so doing well. Stevenson, Albright with wins. Albright won, which I guess is called like the Pretzel Bowl. They don't beat Widener very often, so that's a pretty big deal for the Lions. Congratulations to them. Coast Guard doing what they do. They put up a lot of points. 49 is maybe half of what they did the last weekend, so they might have to look at the playbook. Just kidding. Salve moves to 4-0 with a 28-20 win over SUNY Maritime. Congratulations to Coach Gilmartin and the Seahawks on the great start. Endicott looks good in their win. Keystone wins. Does it count? Does it not? I don't know. Either way, doesn't matter necessarily in the big grand scheme of things. We saw Wesleyan bounce back with a 23-7 win over Bates. Easy for me to say. Amherst beating Tufts, though, was a little bit of a surprise, Frank. And you can see some of these other NESCAC scores. We'll get to that conference in a second. Look at Eastern beating Kings. The Monarchs off to a 1-3 start. Tough thing for the defending MAC champs. Looks like the MAC might have a new champion this year, Frank. We'll have to wait and see. And Westfield State finally in the nightcap, you can say, wins 31-22 over nearby Worcester State.
Remember when Albright gave up like 90-plus points when I covered the game against UMHB that one year? And to see them coming back the way they are, congratulations to them on getting the wagon back on track here. We'll see what they're able to do with that this season. Still a lot of football to go. Let's go to Region 2. WJ at Grove City, the night game that I attended. And we'll start with 14:49 left in the second quarter, already 3-0 W&J, and Andrew Sharp gets an 18-yard touchdown pass from Kellen Stahl, basically in the flat and nobody home there. Makes it a 10-0 lead for W&J. 3 minutes later, Jacob McCosco, what a night he had. 15-yard touchdown pass from Kellen Stahl here, 17-0 at that point. 5:18 left second quarter, Kellen Stahl, the 4-yard touchdown run for W&J, makes it a 24-0 lead. And then third quarter, 6:04 left, Kobe DeRosa, 1-yard touchdown run, 34-0 at that point. We won't belabor the point here, folks. Washington Jefferson wins the game 34-14. W&J's offense outgained Grove City 448 to 281 in total yards. Ian DeMary had 21 rushes for 142 yards with 1 rushing touchdown. But Jacob McCosco, 15 catches, 180 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown for W&J. 180 yards, what a night for him. We'll go to Susquehanna at Christopher Newport in Region 2. 38 seconds into the second quarter, it's Frankie Miraz getting a 53-yard touchdown pass from Tommy Wright in this game. 14-10 at that point for Susquehanna to lead. And Josh Ehrlich was seen on the sideline with the headset on. I think it was just one of those days with the bye coming up that they made a decision to save him up, get him back to 100%. JB, we'll see what happens with that. Wish him the best, obviously. Tommy Wright added a 1-yard touchdown run for 21-10 eventually. Second quarter, 4:31 left. Christopher Newport's Colin Hart. What a night for Connor Berry, his quarterback. This 43-yard touchdown pass to Hart made it 21-17. Then 1 minute left second quarter, Susquehanna's Rashawn Lamons. A 2-yard touchdown run makes it 27-17. Christopher Newport, 18 seconds later, it's Connor Berry to Ethan Barham. A 76-yard touchdown pass. It's 27-24 at that point. My goodness. Then Susquehanna fumbles the ensuing kickoff, and that allows Gunnar White to give his team the lead at halftime. 1-yard touchdown run, 31-27 at halftime. Christopher Newport leading. We'll go to the third quarter, about 11 minutes left in it. Tommy Wright is intercepted here by Noah Martin. and that would lead to a CNU field goal. Then in a downpour, you're going to see Rashawn Lamons fumble the ball and get injured on this play, losing the fumble, and eventually it's recovered by Jalen Britt. 2 plays later, CNU cashes in. 9:45 left, fourth quarter. Connor Berry, a 1-yard touchdown run, and you kind of know the rest, folks. As here we'll see Tommy Wright intercepted by Eli Sherfield. Can barely see because of the rain on the camera, but things just went south quickly for Susquehanna as CNU wins 41-27. CNU's offense outgained Susquehanna 495 to 333. Tommy Wright did go 13 for 24 for 264 yards and 1 passing touchdown, but those 3 interceptions, ouch. Connor Berry from CNU, 17 for 30, 374 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and only 1 interception. We only have limited highlights here for Hobart at Ithaca due to ICTV taking about a week to get the stream archive up, and so we'll look at second quarter, 28 seconds left. Hobart's Johnny Harding, the 12-yard touchdown pass from Jeremy Weiss, making it 7 apiece. Then third quarter, 11:49 left. It's Nicholas Matos getting a 16-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Parker for Ithaca. That's a 13-7 lead at that point. We'll see here what looks like a DPI call against Ithaca in Hobart's attempt in their last drive, and that eventually sets them up for 4th and 4 at the 16-yard line, and you'll see here that they only get 3 yards on the catch. Not enough. They turn it over on downs, and Ithaca goes on to win 13-7 as Ithaca's defense held Hobart to 2 for 13 on third down. DPI was called and then was reversed. She'll tell us more about that in a second, killing a potential game-winning drive for Hobart. Matthew Parker, 13 for 19, 140 yards, 1 passing touchdown. So take us through that, because obviously I had limited ability to see what happened in that game. What was the DPI that got called back?
So, Hobart was driving for, theoretically, the game-winning touchdown. Ithaca had missed the PAT, so it gave the Statesmen an opening to take the lead if they could score and kick the extra point. And it was one of those plays where it looked like the defender basically kind of got there before the ball did, knocked into the receiver. There appeared to be contact from the video, although I will say I was listening to the Hobart broadcast, which was like 5 plays ahead of the video from ICTV, which was weird. So I heard it, and then I tried to watch it, and I'm like, okay, it looked like pass interference to me, which would have given Hobart a first down with 15-yard penalty, which would have put them like on the 10 or at least inside the red zone, drastically increasing their chances of getting a score and potentially winning the game. But then inexplicably, and I noticed, Pat Coleman picked up on my little stat of 19-0. These kinds of things happen to Hobart and Ithaca. For some weird reason, the flag got picked up, it was waved off, and then all of a sudden, they're in that 4th down situation, and no first down, no chance to win, and there you go. This is what happens to the Statesmen.
Let's go to the rest of the Region 2 scores, JB.
Yeah, elsewhere in Region 2, let's start off the Empire 8. We saw Cortland win big. Look at RPI, Frank. Holy smokes. After they got that tripped up game against Utica, they have been rolling through their last couple opponents. Surprising how lopsided a win that was over Rochester. I thought the Yellow Jackets would have given them a better run for it. Rolling wins. We saw Buffalo State get their first win. We saw William Patterson get their first win. Brockport scored touchdowns almost every way you could in this game. Special teams, I think defense, offense. So they blank Hartwick 56-0. WestCon still undefeated, 38-7. Utica's issues they had last week with Hobart didn't have the problem with Alfred State. The Utica guys got their chicken riggies and rang it up on Alfred State. Let's hear it for Hiram. I'm not sure if it's the right way to say that. I'm sure you do, Frank. 40-38 over St. Vincent. That's their first win in the pack. That conference is kind of a mess when you look at the standings. It's pretty crazy. Hey, look at Ed Raby, 21-7, beating Alfred, who beat Hobart in week 1. I mean, a 3-1 start, 1-0 in the Empire 8. Just like that, the Cardinals are back. An impressive job by him and his staff. Salisbury wins easily. Geneva outlasts Allegheny, and look at them. They're 2-0 in the pack, just like we predicted, right, Frank? Case Western gets their first win with a 55-0 blanking of Bethany. TCNJ wins big. We saw Waynesburg win big. They're 2-0 in the pack. Look at that. Union starts off 1-0. I think Coach Strock's, process of turning that program around is starting to take hold here. The Chargers, Dutchmen, we're going to call them the Dutchmen on this show. The Dutchmen are looking pretty good so far, Frank. So, and then finally, look at this one, 24-21. Wilkes is winning by narrowest margins. They're going to start landmark play this weekend. See what happens there.
Fire the cannons.
Oh yeah.
Let's go to Region 3. Yes. Washington Lee at Randolph-Macon. 5:35 left in the first quarter. Mitchell Johnson, a 7-yard touchdown run, gives RMC a 7-0 lead. The Yellow Jackets would keep it pouring on. 1:19 left in the first quarter. Mitchell Johnson again, a 40-yard touchdown run. 14-0 at that point. Hey, how about some more Yellow Jackets action? 13:01 left, fourth quarter. Cameron Chapman, a 6-yard touchdown run, 21-0. Washington Lee would be heard from with 9:46 left in the fourth quarter. Anthony Crawford gets a 5-yard touchdown run to make it 21-6. But we'll see here later, 3.5 minutes left, fourth quarter. WNL trying here. Ty Collins, strip sack, fumble, and all of the things that could go wrong, that did go wrong there as Randolph-Macon recovers and holds on to win the game 24-6. Randolph-Macon's got on their offense 59 rushes, 276 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns in a rainstorm there as well. Mitchell Johnson, 22 rushes, 182, and 2 rushing touchdowns, to be specific on that one player. Region 3 continues as ETBU took on Texas Lutheran. 10:25 left in the second quarter. Weston Guzman of Texas Lutheran gets a 27-yard touchdown pass from Reese Dietrich to make it at that point a 14-7 lead. East Texas Baptist would tie the game with 6:28 left in the second quarter as Paul Woodard gets a 5-yard touchdown run, making it 14-14. But then he's heard from again in the second quarter just before the 2-minute timeout. He gets a 48-yard touchdown run this time to make it a 21-14 lead in favor of East Texas Baptist. Well, we look here in the fourth quarter as ETBU had a 3rd and 9 with 8:13 left, and Shai Markajani is intercepted by Merrick Square, and that would thwart the chance there, but TLU couldn't cash in. 6:44 left in the 4th and 3. Reese Dietrich is incomplete, and so ETBU's holding on to that lead. Eventually, Mitchell White would get a big 25-yard field goal with 3:12 left. You'll see it here with a 24-14 lead. TLU would respond on a 10-play, 98-yard drive with 54 seconds left as Caleb Camarillo getting a 39-yard touchdown pass from Dietrich, 24-21. But you'll see here the onside kick is easily handled by ETBU, who holds on to win the game, 24-21, in a move to 4-0. Reese Dietrich, 17 for 30, 274 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception for Texas Lutheran. Paul Woodard for ETBU had 22 rushes, 169 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Here's what we could piece together of the Howard Payne McMurray broadcast. We'll go up to the point where it was 24-17 at that point, McMurray leading, 12:39 left fourth quarter. Blessing Engine gets a 24-yard touchdown run to tie the game. Howard Payne tied 24-piece with McMurray. McMurray would go on a 16-play, 6-minute drive, a 21-yard field goal for the lead here on 4th and 4. Oh my goodness, it is a bad snap, and everything else that could go wrong does on that play. So that's it for that play. McMurray, though, still not dead in this game, as it looked like Howard Payne was driving in to win.
The ball's loose. McMurray's got the ball to Varney. Running with the ball, the Warhawks. 35-30, 25-20, 15-10, 5. Touchdown, McMurray. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you couldn't see the second half of it, but just trust us that that's how it ended, and the radio broadcast for that matter. Yeah, it was there. It's a touchdown, 31-24 at that point. And then you'll see here as Glendon Casas Willis, his pass is complete. They try to do the lateral game and everything else, and it's not going to be a touchdown, I'll tell you that much. 31-24, McMurray wins the game. Blessing Engine for HPU gets 18 rushes, 143 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Thomas Chandler, from McMurray, 8 catches, 166 yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. And Jackson Harris from McMurray, the 78-yard fumble recovery for touchdown with under 10 seconds left. JB, all kidding aside, what an ending for McMurray, who's been on the doorstep so many times this season. Yeah. They finally get the win, this time against Howard Payne. Go ahead.
Yeah, and if Chris Berman was calling the game, it would have been the rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. You got a 240, 50-pound defensive lineman scoop and score to grasp defeat from the grasp victory from the jaws of defeat. I guess it was the other way around for Howard Payne, who were literally all they had to do was just sit on the ball and kick a field goal, and they would have won the game. But tough loss for them. But big win for McMurray, who had lost their previous 3 games by 1 possession. And so I'm sure that felt good for them to finish a Saturday off with a win. You can see not a lot of other action going on in Region 3 this past weekend. There was some out-of-division games with Maryville outlasting Pikeville. Don't know much about those guys, but UMHB did not look great against Mars Hill. And even though they're pretty strong for the division that they're in, we'll talk about this, I think, after this segment, Frank, but some concerns starting to get going there in Belton after this 1-2 start. Hampden-Sydney continues to roll. They looked awesome. Methodist beats Apprentice, which is a nice win for them, their first of the season. Bridgewater got their first with a 41-14 win over Averett. Look at Roanoke, the Maroons, 2-0 to start the year and 1-0 in the ODAC. Wow, awesome start for them. Lyon gets their first win of the season, beating Westminster of Missouri. And then finally, we had Hendricks take care of Rhodes, 47-28.
Region 4 time for the other game that I went to, the first one of the day, Mount Union at Baldwin-Wallace in the OAC. 5 minutes into the second quarter, here's Sean Thomas getting a 3-yard touchdown run for Mount Union to give the Purple Raiders a 14-3 lead. But Baldwin-Wallace comes back. 6:32 left, second quarter. George Lindberger, our guest from our Friday show, a 1-yard touchdown run makes it 14-10. Baldwin-Wallace still trailing by 4. Then 1:13 left in the second quarter. Tim Conwell, a 10-yard touchdown pass from Charlie Babonix makes it 17-14. Baldwin-Wallace with the lead. Then a little controversy here. 3 seconds left in the second quarter. Obviously, they would have the easy field goal if they didn't get this. Wyatt Steele, the 3-yard touchdown pass from Mikey Maloney, 21-17 Mount Union, but it really did not look like he controlled the ball before he hit the white stripe in the back of the end zone. It still counts nonetheless. Second half, it's Mount Union continuing to score. 2 minutes into it, it's Davian Grant, a 44-yard touchdown pass from Mikey Maloney to make it 28-17 at that point. And fourth quarter, first play of it, Sean Thomas from Mount Union gets a 24-yard touchdown run to make it 35-17. Final score, Mount Union pulls away 42-23. Lindberger, 24 rushes, 151 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Mikey Maloney for Mount Union, 334 total yards, 2 passing touchdowns. And you saw the pass before halftime. Whether or not that changed momentum in the game, that's the only real argument there. But speaking of momentum and officiating, let's go to it. Here it is, folks. Alma at Hope. This is a great game, and I hate to see it end like this. 6:55 left in the first quarter. Zach Poff, who transferred from Hope, by the way, a 70-yard touchdown pass from Carter St. John makes it 14-0 at that point, Alma leading. Eventually, though, Hope would gain the lead in the first half with 1:56 left in the second quarter. Billy Sternberg, a 3-yard touchdown pass from Alex Stoll, 16-14, Hope with the lead. 8:26 left third quarter, Eddie Williams for Alma gets a 48-yard touchdown run to take the lead back. It's 20-16 at that point. They would add a 22-yard Jace Heck field goal with 2:56 left in the third quarter to make it 23-16. Here's where the fun begins, folks. 4th and 6 or 4th and 7, however you want to look at it, at the Alma 11, and Alex Stoll is incomplete to Travis Myers, but a flag was thrown. It looked like clearly Jersey was tugged and that defensive holding was the call, and that put it half the distance to the goal line. A couple different angles to look at there, but then we'll tell you that at this point, Hope does get the touchdown, 23 apiece with 22 seconds left. It took them a few plays to finally get it on a 13-play drive. We go to overtime. Hope gets the ball first. Caden Balcon, a 30-yard field goal, makes it 26-23 at that point. Here's the play that'll live in infamy forever in this series. 2nd and 4 from the Hope 19, and Carter St. John is complete to Zach Poff, and Well, wait a minute. This is fumbled. It's Hope. This game's over. Wait a minute. Hope wins the game. Hope has won the game, folks.
After discussion, it is ruled as an incomplete pass.
Oh, you're kidding me! You have got to be kidding me! That was a catch and a lateral! You have got to be kidding me! And Peter Sturzma is hot, and I don't blame him. That was a catch and a lateral. That's a horrible call.
Heard it there. They call it an incomplete pass after a long conference. Later on in the drive, we'll talk about it later, folks. 3rd and 11, and it is Carter St. John getting 9 yards to the Hope 2. They could have gone for a field goal to tie on 4th down. They go for the win instead, and the jump pass by Carter St. John is good to Miles Haggart for the touchdown. Alma wins 29-26. Gutsy call there at the end of the game by Alma, by the way. That gets lost in this whole thing. Alex Thole for Hope, 33 for 44, 267 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Carter St. John, 17 for 24, 173 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, but 3 interceptions, and obviously the controversy, more on it later. Then in the MIAA, let's go to this Trine Albion game, epic series game, whatever you want to call it. It's 3:54 left, 2nd quarter. Alex Trudell, a 2-yard touchdown run. His Albion, the 21-0 lead. Indeed, it is. So this game's over, right? Of course not. It's on crunch time. 2nd quarter, 1:33 left in that quarter. It's Jermaine Williams, a 56-yard touchdown pass from Ivan Collins, makes a 21-7 game. Trine gets a field goal, and then in the 3rd quarter, 6:48 left, it's Rashawn Street getting a 10-yard touchdown pass from Collins to make it a 21-17 game. They keep their foot on the accelerator here. 4th quarter, 12:52 left. Zach Pillow lays his head down in the house on this 56-yard touchdown pass from Ivan Collins. 24 unanswered points for Trine, 24-21 at that point. But folks, here we go. 4 minutes later, Alex Trudell from Albion gets a 1-yard touchdown run to make it 28-24 Albion. Trine responds. 2:10 left in the 4th quarter. Cortavian Barnett gets a 9-yard touchdown run to make it a 31-28 lead Trine. How do you respond? Well, with a 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. That's what Jalen Johnson said.
Because of course.
And yes, because why not in this game at this point? And yes, it's at that point 35-31 Albion. You think we're done? No, we're not done. Cortavian Barnett, again, a 6-yard touchdown run for a touchdown. Makes it 38-35, I should say. Trine leading the game. Albion got the ball into Trine territory, but look at this. Ali Murray is intercepted by Roman Schrock. That would do it right at Trine 8-yard line. Well, wait, there's a couple timeouts remaining. Trine runs the ball. Yeah. Oh, come on. They fumbled the ball. Albion gets the ball back. Are you kidding me? The 7-yard line. They try a touchdown for a touchdown, can't get it. Here's the field goal attempt from 23 yards out, and of course it's blocked. Are you kidding me? I mean, who wanted to win this game? I can't even tell. Yes, it did. 38-35, Trine wins this epic game. Albion led 21-7 at the half, 21-0 at one point. Ali Murray from Albion, 14 for 32, 209 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Ivan Collins, 19 for 33, 272 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception. MIA had to be the wackiest conference in a while that I've seen. Wackier than a WEAC in that whole situation. JB, take us through the rest of Region 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were only 12 games in this region, and a third of them were shutouts. So you saw some pretty one-sided affairs when you had Worcester, DePauw, John Carroll, and Wabash all shutting out their opposition. There were a couple of good games, though. Look at here, Ohio Northern outlasts Wilmington in a shootout, 41-35. Marietta struggling against Capital, 24-21, is interesting. I don't know what that means necessarily yet, but they're 3-0, and so you got to give Marietta credit there. Adrian improves to 4-0. They're 1-0 in the MIAA, 59-27 over Levette. We saw Muskingum win as well as Calvin. Look at them, they're 4-0, just like we predicted, right, Frank? They win the battle of the unbeatens in the Michigan Interscholastic Athletic Association. What a crazy conference that one has been so far, 4 weeks into the season.
Unbelievable, and we'll talk a little bit more about it after crunch time. Let's go to Region 5, as it was first off here, Co at Wartburg. Co here thought they were cashing in 4th and 5 though in their first drive, 9:30 left, and they are incomplete. They were, in near field goal range. Here was a chance to capitalize. They couldn't do it. So eventually Wartburg on a 9-minute long drive. It's a 1-yard Joey Anderson touchdown run to make it a 7-0 score. Let's go to the first play of the second half, and Wartburg here is intercepted. Josh Papish is intercepted by Noah Tolbert. And Co would try in the next drive with about 11 minutes left to cash in. Again, though, 4th and 3, field goal attempt is blocked. Are you kidding me with some of these blocked field goals on week 4? So eventually, Wartburg would get a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Jake Walker lands on it with a teammate. 14-0. Wartburg leads this game. Defense, special teams. Wartburg's got it all going there. 4th and 5 here. We'll see Brady Kelly from Co intercepted by Blake Jansen, and eventually that would lead to a field goal. Folks, it was a 17-7 Wartburg win, as that defense does win at least football games, if not championships. You'll see that they shut out Co for 59-18 in this game and held them to 235 yards of total offense. Joey Anderson, 24 rushes, 84 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 2 receptions also for 31 yards for Wartburg. Benedictine at Concordia, Wisconsin. 19 seconds into the second quarter. He's got the funk, does Roman. 1-yard touchdown run. 7-0 lead for Concordia, Wisconsin. But the final play of the second quarter, they skew the possible 32-yard field goal attempt, and Jason Moore gets the touchdown pass from Jack Moses. Parting the Red Sea there, apparently, and getting the touchdown was Benedictine with the 7-7 score. Third quarter, 30-31 left. Benedictine's Nigel Bruce, a 5-yard touchdown run, 13-7 at that point. Benedictine's lead. Concordia, 12:33 left in the fourth quarter. Asher Thomas, a 2-yard touchdown run, makes it 13 apiece. And of course, the extra point is going to be blocked. I mean, what else would it be at this point in this week's load of games? And so we're tied at 13.
Yeah.
And eventually we would go to overtime. As I throw my papers around here because we got so many block kicks, I don't know what to do anymore. We'll go to Benedictine's first overtime period. Tristan Weglers gets a 23-yard touchdown pass from Jack Moses, 20-13 Benedictine. But Concordia, who started at the 40 because of a penalty, has Roman Funk find Jason Leonard for a 31-yard touchdown pass. He's got the funk. 20-20 at that point. We go to second overtime. Concordia, Wisconsin gets the ball to start the second overtime. It's Caleb Espinoza, an 11-yard touchdown run and the 2-point conversion on top of it. Made it 28-20. Concordia, Wisconsin leading. And here's a 4th and 7 at the 9-yard line. Jack Moses cannot get the completion, and that would do it. Concordia, Wisconsin wins this double overtime thriller, 28-20. Jack Moses, 18 for 27, 143 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Roman Funk, 221 yards. Also 1 passing, 1 rushing touchdown, I should say, and an interception. Let's go to North Central at Wash U. First quarter, 13:03 left. Marion Roby, a 56-yard pick 6 to the house, 7-0. North Central led this game. But Wash U didn't go away. 9:30 left first quarter. Lucas Blumenthal, a 16-yard touchdown pass from Levi Moore, ties it up at 7 apiece. 2 minutes later, Thomas Skokna gets a 16-yard touchdown pass from Garrett Wilson to make it 14-7, North Central leading. They would add to this with a 49-yard Aiden Ellison field goal. Big leg on Aiden Ellison, let me tell you. 17-7 at that point, North Central. Second quarter, 12:39 left. Garrett Wilson runs in the ball, 12 yards for the touchdown. Again, his Luke Lanen impersonation, 24-7 at that point, North Central. Wash U tries, 9 minutes left second quarter. Mikhail Carter, a 42-yard touchdown pass from Levi Moore, makes it a 10-point game, 24-14. But we'll go to the third quarter, 5:05 left. Sean Allen, a 13-yard touchdown run from North Central, 34-14. Final score be 44-14. North Central winning against Wash U. Levi Moore, 14 for 34, 160 yards, 2 passing touchdowns and an interception. Donovan McNeil for NCC, 13 carries, 170 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. So, sir, why don't we go through quickly the rest of the Region 5 scores and the scoreboard.
All right, elsewhere in Region 5, we saw Illinois Wesleyan, Wheaton wins pretty convincingly. We saw Wisconsin Lutheran and Simpson take care of business. Lakeland and Nebraska Wesleyan also. The Prairie Wolves, I believe those guys are called, get their first win. They're 1-1 in the ARC. Central beats Dubuque 35-16. Augustana gets a win 33-6. Aurora, wow, look at this, 66-0 over Eureka. And then North Park had some crazy special teams, like I think a couple of blocks and 2-point returns, all this kind of stuff, and a 34-6 win over Elmhurst.
It's time for the GOAT, and perhaps the GOAT of quarterbacks these days. Let's talk about it. St. Olaf at Carleton. 7
Curtis.
minutes.
Jack Curtis, baby.
I'm like, did I already mess it up? 7 minutes left, second quarter. St. Olaf's Will Skemp, a 32-yard touchdown pass from Luke Crosby makes it 14 apiece. And then 3:12 left in the second quarter. We're going to see Tyler Diamond from Carleton get a 40-yard touchdown pass from Jack Curtis. 21-14 at that point. Carleton leading. They'd expand that lead. 27 seconds left in the second quarter. Rye Stores gives a 13-yard touchdown pass from Jack Curtis. 28-14 at that point. Carleton leading in this game. St. Olaf responds. 5:03 left, third quarter. Gus Gartsky, a 2-yard touchdown run. 28-21. The Olies trying to come back, but Carleton pushes back from them. 33 seconds left, third quarter. Rye Stores again. A 7-yard touchdown pass from Jack Curtis. It's 35-21. Carleton leading. 12:24 left, fourth quarter. Will Skemp, a 42-yard touchdown pass. The flag you'll see is for defensive pass interference, so great job by him to actually make that catch. And that's a 35-28 lead still for Carleton. We'll go to 1:30 left here in the fourth quarter. Luke Crosby for St. Olaf is intercepted by Jake Rinke, and that you would think might do it, but no. On 4th and 1, 18 seconds left. Are you kidding me? They lose the ball. And it is a chance right now for St. Olaf at the 23-yard line. 1st and 10, Crosby gets make it 11 yards actually in the play to the 12-yard line. And here we go, the last play.
On this final play of the game, Crosby fires to pick the off his hands, incomplete! Go get that goat! Don't turn that eagle and sing the alma mater till your voice gives out, because the Carleton Knights have beaten the Olies in the GOAT Trophy game.
Indeed, turn the eagle and give them the GOAT. It's a final score of 35-28, Carleton winning. Will Skemp, 8 catches, 131 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns for St. Olaf, but Jack Curtis, the MIAC Player of the Week again on offense, 29 for 42, 396 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Carleton withstands a final St. Olaf drive to win the GOAT. Let's go to Pomona-Pitzer, hosting Claremont Mudd Scripps. Halfway through the second quarter, Kalani Pickett, an 8-yard touchdown pass from Nick Kim, makes it 10-3 Pomona-Pitzer. It was 10-6 at halftime. You'll see here, 4th 11. Ultimately, this turns into a safety this play. So now it's only 10-8 Pomona-Pitzer leading. And it is CMS getting a 25-yard field goal. The Stags take the lead with 1 minute left in the third quarter, 11-10. But Pomona-Pitzer responds. 11:51 left, fourth quarter. It's Luke Leavitt getting a 1-yard touchdown run and an 18-11 score. Of course, that conventional 18-11 score you always see. Fourth quarter, 9:04 left. Pomona-Pitzer's Jacob Whiting, a 39-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. 25-11 as Pomona-Pitzer continues to lead here. 1:48 left, fourth quarter. James Ryan, a 28-yard touchdown pass from Robert Litzscher. It's 25-17, but you'll see here that the onside kick is recovered by Pomona-Pitzer, and they would end up winning this game 25-17. CMS's offense outgained Pomona-Pitzer 340-220, but they went 2 for 4 in the red zone, and they were held to 4 field goal attempts, making only 3 of them. Finally, Augsburg at St. John's. Real quickly, we're going to go over this one 5 minutes into the first quarter. Dylan Wheeler gets a 21-yard touchdown pass from Xander Dittbenner. I mean, there's a name. 7-0, St. John's leads. 2:49 left first quarter. Xander Dittbenner gets a 16-yard touchdown run for St. John's to make it a 14-0 lead. Then we would see St. John's Joey Gendro get a 37-yard touchdown pass from Trey Feeney. A little trickery or something going on here. 28-0 at that point. And St. John's would continue in the first half. 1:13 left. It's Xander Dittbenner, 16-yard touchdown run, and that would do it. The final score would be 63-0 St. John's. They're 3-0 now. Third consecutive shutout for the Johnnies defense in 2025. JB, I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to try this. Double overtime, St. Scholastica beats McAllister. Bethel lines up their game with St. John's this coming week with a 62-12 victory. Concordia Moorhead in a thriller against Gustavus couldn't get their first win of the season. Cal Lutheran 27-10 beats Redlands to stay undefeated. And Chapman gets a 56-6 win, their first one of the season as I head into there. Why don't you tell folks what just ended?
Crunch time for week 4 of the D3 football season.
We'll work on it. I think you got some promise here. Yeah, but instead of doing your MVPs, I'm going to let you do your MVPs. So go right ahead with the JB MVPs of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I could have easily gone with maybe Noah Boudry or maybe Nicolay Boyce from the AMCATs, who had statistically maybe better games, but Connor Berry out of Christopher Newport had one of the biggest games of week 4, knocking off previously number 13 Susquehanna in a huge win for the captains, who, you know, keep rolling along here. He had a big day, I think 3 touchdowns, so had to go with Connor for my offensive MVP. On the special team side, Daniel Mane, I think is how you say his name. He had a 80-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, a 67-yard punt return for a touchdown. Just a big day for him. I think he also scored a touchdown as either a receiver or running back. The guy can do it all. So congratulations to Brockport on that one. And then, of course, even though we didn't really see it on film, Jackson Harris with the 10-second, saving his team from an 0-4 start, the 78-yard rumbling, bumbling, stumbling touchdown for the War Eagles is a big, or was it the Warhawks or Eagles? I can't remember McMurray's mascot, but either way, outstanding performance for him to save his team from an 0-4 start. So Jackson gets my defensive MVP of the week.
It is Wally the Warhawk, apparently. They adopted it in March of 2011, so there you go. They learn something new every day. Okay, we got to fly here a little bit in terms of going over some things. First, of course, the Alma Hope game. Okay, unlike another podcast, we're going to actually tell you a little bit more about it than just allude to it here. We did look at it at crunch time, but we kind of have to go through the idea that, okay, what happened here? We went through our video on Saturday on it. The player clearly possessed the ball long enough to actually redirect the ball, not through a bat, but through an actual backward pass that was not handled by the player that he was intending it for, and it was a fumble. And I don't understand what the conference, what went on in that conference between those referees. This was a clear call. This happens all the time. It is the so-called hook and lateral play, or whatever you want to call it, but the hook part of it is the actual catch. And it doesn't matter that you didn't have it for longer than a half a second. You literally grasped the ball and fully redirected it in a way that is not a bat. And the rule for a catch is clear that if you have long enough to make a pitch in the way the player did, that is sufficient to establish a catch. My problem with what the referees did here was they gave the benefit of the doubt to the receiver, who in this situation was trying to do something advantageous and basically should not have been given the double advantage on this, that either he could have successfully done this knowing what the play was, or gotten the incomplete pass for something that wasn't a bat. In this type of situation, the advantage was belonging entirely to the receiver. And so this is why you have to call that a catch as quickly as you can establish that that control existed. And that is why a lot of people are up in arms about it, because you can't be serious in that type of call that you're going to call that an incomplete pass. I've never seen it called an incomplete pass before, and nor should I ever see it again called an incomplete pass. You were watching in real time. I mean, even watching the replays, they have not helped matters and maybe given an excuse to the referees, I don't think. What are your thoughts?
Well, other than it's confusing to say hook and ladder when it's a lateral, that's a little bit of a tongue twister. But yeah, I think you can really see in the film, the receiver gets the ball, makes a football move, which is to effectively, pass it off to the guy who's, coming up the field. It is a lateral by the rule, and so when the guy misses it and Hope lands on it, that's a fumble recovery in my book. So yeah, this is a huge miss by this staff. At the end of the day, we've seen a lot of people on Twitter otherwise like, well, is the NCAA going to review this and overturn it? Nope. It stands, and unfortunately for Hope, the only thing they can really do about it is to try to go 9-1, win their conference, get the best seed they possibly can in the tournament, and sort of put this behind them. I was surprised in the 5-minute interview on ATN that no one asked the question to the coach of Hope of like, well, did you even talk to the officials? What did they tell you? Maybe that was off limits, or maybe it's something they didn't want to talk about. But that seemed like something that should have come up. And I don't know. I mean, I understand the coach wanting to just sort of say, hey, it was out of our control, we're moving on, and all that kind of thing. But it was such an egregious miss that, I don't know, it's going to be something that we talk about for a long time.
Coach Sturzma, I think, does watch some of our stuff. So, Coach, if you want to give us a little input off this, what it was said to the officials to you,
yeah.
I don't think that's controversial or problematic for you. You're not going to give commentary on that. You're just going to tell us what was said. Feel free to, because we're not going to hear anything else from the MIAA, it sounds like. But if they'd like to push something onto our Twitter somehow, some way, feel free to do so, guys, because I think silence is not your friend here. There's a negative inference by you saying nothing, because if you believe that your officials got it right, you would have issued some kind of release saying the officials actually had it right because bat was a legitimate call in that situation. Because a bat of a pass in flight remains a pass in flight until it hits the ground as an incomplete pass, therefore it would have been correct. That would have been what they would have released if it was supportable. It's not supportable. It's not. Okay, folks, that is not a supportable definition in this case. That is not a bat, it is a catch. Okay, UMHB losing to Mars Hill. For all my love, I'm wearing a little purple here in honor of UMHB because they're getting bashed by their fan base one more time. But even Couch Crew said that Mars Hill was the favorite team in this game, and I thought so too coming in, knowing who Mars Hill is. They aren't the world beaters necessarily in their division, but they're also not an awful team. And so they probably should have won that game. Yes, Mary Hardin-Baylor's offense looks a little anemic right now. And yes, maybe the whole Jake Wright question I brought up back early on might still have some relevance here, but that's all in the past. Kirkland Michaud's your guy, I think, still. I mean, obviously things could change there, but I don't think you can measure them on this game. You can measure them a little bit better on Bethel because they have played Bethel 2 years in a row. They did not play Mars Hill last year. But I gave you my thoughts on the Bethel game. They did not look very strong in that game. They didn't look very strong in the Whitewater game either, okay, obviously. Now you've got a situation where they lose to Mars Hill and everybody's ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I would say to you folks, calm down. Season's not over. The question really becomes whether or not they lose to an ASC team that's not named Hardin-Simmons this season. That would be probably the real point in the sand there, line of the sand. And don't forget, ETBU right now is 4-0. Howard Payne doesn't look horrible, although they should have probably beaten McMurray in the end. This is an interesting conference, and somebody could possibly beat Mary Hardin-Baylor because they finally have gained enough steam, like the ETBUs of the world, in 2 chances. What's to say they can't beat them one of those 2 times? I don't know. But are you buying or selling Mary Hardin-Baylor at this point?
Just given the nature of D3 football and the AQ, until there's some conference games, you really can't write anybody off because everyone starts conference play 0-0, and until we see how UMHB lines up to the rest of the ASC, we'll have to wait and figure it out from there. I think their position in our top 40 poll is still probably merited. I mean, their win was a good one. Their loss to Whitewater wasn't great, but Whitewater's pretty high up there now. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens in conference play with these guys. And if the Crusaders stumble there, then yeah, they might miss the playoffs for the first time in a while.
ETBU plays some 2 o'clock on this Saturday, so Eastern time, of course. Also, if we want to take a quick look at our top 10 of our top 40, Wartburg holding steady at 10. I got to say, though, that game against Co showed their defense is still their defense for sure. North Central, all but one first-place vote still. My Union didn't drop off really from or much from the Baldwin-Wallace game. Johns Hopkins number 3, St. John's number 4. I actually have those reversed on my list. I think St. John's is a team to watch this season.
I thought
Lacrosse,
about
that. Yeah, some people do have it in that order. Lacrosse, obviously, look at the WEAC situation here. Lacrosse, Whitewater, Platteville, all in the top 10. River Falls at number 12. And if you want to just keep going here with that, Oshkosh is
I think
number
Platteville
15.
in the top 10 is way too high, though. I mean, did you watch the Springfield game, guys? I mean, I think I'm not a big fan of that.
I think Trinity at 17 is a little premature, too, because I want to see them play Barry before I deem them in that realm. Barry's number 26 currently. Central Carnegie Mellon being tied at 18 is interesting here because Carnegie Mellon, with that loss, you might have thought would get beaten up more than that against Wisconsin Lacrosse, but no, they're still at number 18. Central did fly up, though, now that people are realizing their 4-0 may be legit. Hope did not get badly hurt here, dropped 5 spots. Alma still behind them, interestingly enough, because of their overall record right now, which we'll see on this last page. At 2-2 at number 33. We'll see how that plays out. Linfield, with only 2 games in the book so far, is kind of weird to me that we're still looking at them with only 1-1, and they're number 30. And that's about it. Also, Baldwin-Wallace not too badly hurt. In fact, I thought that they deserved to maybe just stay where they were because of the way they played Mount Union, but they did drop off by 3 spots here, and that's about it for that.
I moved them up in my poll.
Yeah, I think I moved them sideways in mine, basically. Let's take a quick look at some of the conferences here. Hampton, Sydney, and Randolph-Macon seem to be destined for that clash, although Roanoke's still undefeated at 1-0, but nobody else undefeated in the ODAC besides those 3 teams, and 1 game in hand for both of them compared to Roanoke. MIAA, after all the wackiness that occurred, Adrian and Calvin are your overall leaders with Trine and Alma right there because it was only the first game of conference play. But for teams that have a chance in Pool C, Adrian and Calvin actually have a very good chance in Pool C because if they drop 1 game, 9-1 will obviously get an MIAA team in. 8-2 might be the challenge here. And Alma kind of has to win. Actually, they absolutely have to win the conference to get a playoff spot because they would be 3 losses if they didn't win the conference ultimately. So Alma must win the conference, and everybody else has a little bit of fudge factor. Trine and Hope, obviously, they're going to want to finish at something in 1, but if it goes to 2, they may have a chance ultimately. I will tell you that the NJAC, it looks very good right now for teams that could go 8-2 and get in. They're not represented here, but represented here is the PAC, and what a mess. Geneva, Waynesburg, Westminster, and Washington Jefferson undefeated. But, I mean, look at the losses that have mounted across this conference. And Geneva at 2-2, Waynesburg at 2-2, but they're 2-0 in conference. Westminster still hanging around. And they've got to play Washington Jefferson, obviously, still, and Grove City for that matter. But, 2-1, 1-0, Washington Jefferson 1-2, 1-0. And Hiram is not going to just wilt on Washington Jefferson. Mike Sirianni told them that. They play each other this week at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The NACC turned into a little bit of a conundrum of sorts. Not really, because Concordia, Wisconsin, with that win, kicking Benedictine down a notch there, might be the funk they need, besides the Roman funk, to take charge of this conference that is, Aurora, they had a great game against Eureka, and the new quarterback situation there might be what they needed. Who knows? But Lakeland and St. Norbert still there trying to do something. Go ahead, take the CNE.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is to see UNE at the top of the standings, and they have a big game against Endicott this weekend. A lot of people are asking us, why isn't UNE in your top 40? And that's a fair question. Endicott, though, has been the standard. They haven't lost the CNE even back from before when it was the CCC for a while. So they are still the standard. If the Nor'easters can topple the Gulls, then we have a kind of a new world order there, and that could be really interesting.
And good luck figuring out the NESCAC this year. We have 6 teams that are 2-1 currently, and plenty of games to go between those teams. In fact, Millbury, Amherst, and Trinity Tufts are coming up this week alone. So 2 of those 4 teams will drop out of that tie, and 2 will have at least the lead, and maybe a couple more will join them because it's Wesleyan Hamilton and Williams Bowdoin on the bottom end of that listing. So a lot to go there. JB, I know we're running a little late for you and for just in general. I'll let you give your last thoughts on Week 4 before we turn our attention to Week 5.
Yeah, well, I guess thanks for sparing me the humiliation of reminding everyone that I was 11-9 in my picks this past weekend. I think that's a perfect summation of what was going on. We saw, Lebval beat Del Val for the first time in 12, 13 years. We saw UNE beat Western New England for the first time. We saw Christopher Newport knock off Susquehanna. We saw Howard Payne lose at the last 10 seconds. That was a game that we thought we knew was going to happen. We saw the Hope game, which, they probably should have won. We got that one wrong, too, because of that crazy finish. That Trine Albion game could have gone either way. You got that one right. I sort of thought Co might be a team to knock off Wartburg. I was way off on that. I was right about W&J. That was my one good pick I think I had this weekend. But Co clearly just isn't able to do anything. This Wartburg defense is probably going to be the reason why some WIAC team that people think is a top 10 team gets knocked out of the playoffs at some point. We'll see what happens there. And then, Benedictine, who looked great last week, goes and loses in overtime. There was just some crazy results this weekend, things that we just didn't quite see coming play out. First-time wins, crazy finishes. It was a great Week 4.
Friday Live will be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 a.m. Pacific, and I know that because I will be out in the Pacific Time Zone co-hosting it with JB at 5:30 a.m. We must love this division if we do this. Obviously, Redlands Chapman is the game I'll be attending because I'll be out in the San Diego area, and we'll drive up to the LA area to cover that game. So a Region 6 game will be checked off the box here. That means I have gotten to, I think, once that happens, every region except for Region 3 this season. So Texas might be seeing me sooner rather than later, so we can say I went to all 6 regions. But until that point, folks, thanks for joining us. Lots of action despite only 87 games. I can only imagine what Week 5 will bring with some great ranked versus ranked matchups coming up. We'll see you Friday.